Are there any additions or deletions to our agenda?
No, sir.
Turn it off, Linda, please. Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of our June 6th, 2013 public business meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Brody, seconded by Commissioner Valentine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, report of the President. I'd like to remind everyone that in September 2012, the Department of Economic Development and Community Development posted a Allegany County Economic Development Plan. That was September 2012, posted to our website, alcanet.gov and alleganyworks.org, talking about the county's plan as to economic development. I'd like to also announce, Commissioners, that on July the 11th at 3 o'clock, our work session, the Economic Development Strategic Planning Partnership between the Chamber of Commerce and the county will be sharing results from their meetings over the past year. Of course, the chairman, dual chairman was Stu Zapsky and Mike McKay. From the city of Cumberland, on that committee was Jeff Rhodes. From the city of Frostburg, John Kirby. From FSU, Mr. Stephen Spar. From FSU as well, Dr. Tom Stiggerstaff. And from the business community, Mr. Tom Finan. All the people that were on that committee are involved in economic development and have been charged with the task of coming up with a strategic plan, and that was a partnership between the Chamber of Commerce and Allegany County to remind everyone that that committee is ready to report. The second thing that I need to report to you gentlemen is before I left the county building, I went ahead and put a contract in your boxes at the office. The county administrator is up for renewal, and I'd like you to go ahead and look over that contract if you would. We may have possible action on that at our next meeting, Thursday meeting. So if you have any questions or whatever, you'll need to bring them up in the public so we can be as transparent as possible as we have been in the past. Okay. Commissioners, we're going to move right into presentations, and item number 1 is Sanctuary Studios, located in Flintstone, Maryland. Mr. Hilmar Gudestall is here, who happens to be a painter. Godestall. Painter, sculptor, and creator of the stained glass windows with an international following. And Ms. Penny Knoble, that's up. Photographer. I'm going to turn it over to you two.
Thank you.
Well, guess what? He always lets me go first, and even in the dentist office, especially. So, is this too loud? I'll try not to squeak too many. I was honored that they asked us that Mr. Bill Valentine was recently at our Sanctuary Studios at our house, right next to our house. We've added some sculptures that my husband will talk to you about. And while he was there, he asked us to come to the meeting and just tell you we were here. And it felt strange. I think I'm supposed to say who I am. And so some of you may know, I've been here 25 years, I had to count. And it was the smartest thing that ever happened. My ex-husband made me an offer I couldn't refuse, which was move to the mountains and I could quit my job and do anything I wanted. Well, I had worked in theater, and I'd been assistant director for Anne Arundel County Department of Social Services, working 60 hours a week, and had a theater company on the side, Maryland Theater Arts Company. And so I moved here to do artistic things, and I have. I've been the thing is that I'm here and the ex-husband isn't, but I did not want to leave Allegheny County once I was here. Since then, I did a play off Broadway in New York, a children's musical. And when I came back, the arts community invited me to lunch, and that's dangerous. Shirley Giarita and Allegheny College and FSU, and said they wanted to do a children's theater project, and would I be involved? And so I actually was working still for the state of Maryland. I took early retirement to do just that, to work with children's theater project. And I moved the theater company I had founded in Baltimore in 1978, Maryland Theater Arts Company, and you will see that name still in Cumberland newspapers from time to time, doing things with young people, because even though I retired in 1998, the theater does continue to do wonderful things. I had rented the Embassy Theater and the Cumberland Theater, and we performed children's theater productions. But I am also a playwright. I did a play off Broadway in New York after I moved here. And I'm always looking for people who write music, so if anybody wants to come visit me at Sanctuary Studios. And I retired to photography, so the photographs over here are mine. And then I was lucky enough to find this wonderful gentleman. We actually forgot our 10th anniversary was June the 7th, and he needed a place to work, and across from the land I have was 8 acres, and he has built a studio there called Sanctuary Studios. So we work from there. We don't have hours. We're not a business. So, but we're open for people to come visit us. So, anybody here been there? I know Ruthie has. Okay. But the rest of you, come. Well, make sure we're home. There are cards over here with our email and our phone number on, because we're going to be visiting our daughter, and we travel sometimes. Most recently, his stepson moved to South Africa. Oh, what a shame. We've had to visit South Africa. So, here's my husband.
Hi, everybody. I am not a very versatile speaker, but I'll try my best. My story is a long one. I was born in Austria, raised and educated in Austria, left Austria in 1966 to go to Turkey on a scholarship. And my life as a freelance artist started right there. I have never gone back to Austria to stay. So if you want to look at this stage here as the last leg of my travels in between, it has been 20 years that I arrived in the States to apply for a visa and to apply for citizenship and the process of that. I am a very proud American since 1997, and will do that for the rest of my life. Of course, like Penny hinted, I always refer to her as my miracle, because it was a miracle the way she jumped into my heart and existence and moved me from West Virginia to Flintstone, and it was absolutely not a question to do it the other way around. Although I love West Virginia, I lived on the South Branch very happily. But now, since 13 or 12 years, I am out in Flintstone, and this is going to be my last leg. I have, in my work as an artist, done many things and many different things. A London critic, when I was still very young, came to my show, looked at my work, shook his head and said, "I cannot believe this. I expected to meet an old man, because this is a lifetime's work that you are doing here. How can you do all these different things and be so young?" I said, "Well, I don't know how I do it, but that's what I'm interested in." And I have been doing all these things ever since. So I'm multi-branched and multifaceted. I don't only, and I never try to repeat myself. Even in my older age, I did do one large watercolor in Greece, where I lived for 15 years. and by necessity discovered that watercolors don't paint very well on a vertical hanging painting because the water drips off. So you have to use very small, almost pixels of droplets that will stay in place. And that was in 1984. When, since then, I have been obsessed with these droplets, and I even paint in oils that way now. It's sort of a pointillist way, and it drives me crazy, but I can't get away from it. Every now and then I go to Penny and say, this is the last pointillist painting, I'm going to use a big brush next time. But I start with a big brush, and the brushes get smaller and smaller and smaller, and I end up with the last little layers of dots. So you may say I am a very dotty painter. But apparently it worked pretty good for me because during my career, that's all I was asked to do. Paint, paint, paint. I never had to do anything else. And I think that's pretty rare thing to keep alive and do what you like to do. I brought a few samples of oils, watercolor, oil, and I do also sculptures. I do work in stone also, and whoever is interested in coming out to see us at our studio, I couldn't bring Big George here. It's a 17-foot tall trunk of the ex-George Washington tree that is standing out in the field in our land, and it has, thanks to my neighbor Al and other friends, that George has gotten a companion, and it's a new sculpture that is based on the idea of a fulcrum, T-shaped, two logs, but it's also a big one. It's 17 foot tall, and it's oak, so it was very tricky and difficult to stand up and put it in place. But finally, not too long ago, we did have the opening, and Commissioner Valentine was there, and I was very happy to see him there. And this was the reason why I am speaking here today. The piece that is the companion piece by George is labeled Justice, Peace, Unity, and
Liberty.
Liberty. Yes, that's it. I think equality, but it's liberty. So it's a.
That must mean your time's up.
Yeah, it's probably is. So anybody who wants to come and look at the works here is free to do so. We will hang around, and please come out to the studio. We work there, and most of the times you'll find us there.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, item number 2, gentlemen, is the Maryland Department of Health and Mental Hygiene Exceptional Performance Award. Dr. Raver is here, and Ms. Stevens is here from the Health Department. I'll turn it over to you there, Doctor.
Thank you for letting us come out. We found out about this award right before our Board of Health meeting, which occurred in May. And the state of Maryland, gives several awards each year. One of those is an Exceptional Performance Award. And as far as I know, this is the first time one of the Allegany County Health Department employees has received this award. Leslie Stevens, many of you know from the community. She is our director for dental health, has been for years. She has done innovative programs throughout that time. Initially really hard with primarily children's programs. She worked with the state to improve the way we could provide services to children as well as what she did locally. And in the recent years, she's also been working on an area that is probably the even bigger problem now, which is adult mental disease. There's been a variety of programs that she's done. One of the really innovative ones, and the only one I'm going to share with you, is one we started this year with HealthRight. HealthRight had a grant to provide dental services to very low-income adults. And they were looking for ways to do this efficiently for the amount of money they have. And Leslie came up with an idea where if one of the clients would come in and in an hour with our really dedicated 5 dentists that we have, we could do everything that we could do in an hour for them, and we would be given just a set fee that paid basically the materials that we were using and the dentist time. With that program, which just started partway through this last year, we've seen 293 clients. We received out of that grant $27,577. But what we produced in dental care for that was $233,271 worth of actual dental care. In this program, we're looking for another grant right now, which looks promising with HealthRight for the elderly that would be a similar type of program. So, the award that Leslie received is from DHMH, and it's the 13th Exceptional Performance Award awarded to Leslie Stevens in recognition of outstanding achievement and exceptional performance in the Maryland Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, and that was signed by Joshua Sharpstein and presented by him at a meeting at the end of last month.
Anything you'd like to say?
As I was saying to Dr. Raver coming in, we're very blessed at our dental program. We have 6 wonderful dedicated dentists and just a great staff that's very talented and committed to the program, because you can't do things unless you have people that are really talented and committed. And our dentists and staff really do care about oral health. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, item number 3 is the Transit Bargaining Unit Contract Ratification. Mr. Westfall.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm pleased to be here tonight to recommend to you the contract with the Transit Division employees. At the risk of repeating myself from previous meetings, maybe we worked a little harder on this one than the other 2, or at least we had another meeting or 2. But again, everybody came to the table. We knew what we wanted to do, and we got right down to work and have an agreement that I recommend to you tonight.
Commissioners, I'd like to entertain a motion that we accept our Transit Bargaining Unit Contract Ratification. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved by Commissioner Valentine, seconded by Commissioner Brody. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Harold, is there anything you'd like to say, sir?
I don't need that. Again, I would just like to thank the commissioners and Mr. Westfall for getting this contract settled very quickly, and with the help of the gentleman here, Jack and John, and I apologize. It's been a long day. And John will be probably retiring here soon, so he's heading to the Carolinas. This will be his last contract, maybe.
Commissioners, are you joining me?
Yes, sir.
On this side, we can take a picture over this side. We will. Oh, yeah, you're gonna. You don't want to listen to me. You always did like you that.
Down there.
Congratulations. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. All right, we'll get everyone to stand over here. We'll get a picture of Mom. Take a picture, Mom, please. We're going to stand right here. Yes. We're going to stand right here. You know what? This is a group of unity here, so we need to not be on each ends of the thing. We need to all be together. There you go.
No, go ahead. I'll shoot it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Ron, good job again. Jim, thanks again.
Thank you, James.
Commissioners, it's time that we go into a hearing period of our agenda today. Item number 4 is the public hearing for Code Home Rule Bill 4-13, zoning code amendment to general urban, that's G1 zoning district. Mr. Rudd and Mr. Dorsey are here to comment.
Let him go first.
All right.
Thank you. Back in February, a gentleman came to the Planning and Zoning Office. He wanted to start a small business. His property was located in this G1 zoning district. The current regulations don't allow businesses, aside from home occupations, in this district. We looked at different avenues to get the gentleman a permit, and it just didn't seem possible. So he suggested amending the text of the zoning ordinance, which is an allowable thing under state law, and launched this process of having a text amendment. In order to get the gentleman what he needed, we looked at the different definitions in the zoning ordinance, especially the neighborhood commercial uses, and picked the ones that seem less intrusive for a residential neighborhood like a G1 district is. And what we did, we added as a special exception to the uses allowed in that district. Now, a special exception is one that has to go through the Board of Zoning Appeals for approval. So there's another level of review for that particular proposal. And we added this section C under special exceptions. And it reads, certain small-scale neighborhood commercial uses limited to grocery stores, retail stores, greenhouses and nurseries, specialty shops such as bakeries, barbershops and hairdressers, professional offices, restaurants, printing shops, banks, shops for sale or repair of appliances, and on-site signs. We had a public advertisement for the hearing with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and on, I think it was in May, maybe May 10th, I don't know the exact date, the Planning Commission did vote to recommend the commissioners to approve this change to the text of the G1 zoning district. that's where we're at.
That's where we're at.
Just a comment, Commissioners. Of course, today is a hearing on this. We'll take testimony from anybody who has an interest, and then, of course, the Commissioners, it's a code bill, can take action at any legislative day. You can also amend the bill at any time up until the time it passes.
Yes, ma'am.
On-site signs, what do you think about that?
Well, let's, I have other people that signed up, and
Okay.
then I'll call you, Georgine, okay?
What I want you to do is kind of keep that microphone in the position it is right now. You'll have to hold it while those people come speak. We ask everyone to come speak at the podium, we'd appreciate that.
Okay.
You're the mic.
All right, first person that signed up for comment on the zoning amendment is Mr. James Petrie. Would you like to say something, sir, or you're okay?
I'm on.
Okay. Second on is Ms. Jackie Sands.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Jackie Sams, Cumberland. I've been watching this move through the Planning Commission, and I'm certainly not here to stop Mr. Petrie because we don't have apple dumplings. Bill Duvall had my head. I don't want to go there. My concern about this is the countywide impact. And when we talk about small scale, I don't know what that means. Some of the things that occur to me are what kind of hours would be allowed for something like this? What would be the lighting in a residential area? How would traffic be impacted? What would the parking situation be? What would be the setback to the homes nearby? So I think there needs to be some kind of a definition of what's considered small scale, because a residential area can definitely be impacted by this. The other thing that concerns me a bit is that if neighbors are not happy about this, it sets them up against each other. And I haven't seen that have a good result. I think it's understandable that small businesses could be in a residential area, but I think it also has to be at such a scale that it's not going to be an imposition on the neighbors or impact their property values. And then finally, I know that based on the newspaper article, a lot of folks thought that they were impacted by this, thinking they lived in residential areas, so this could change their situation. When you look at the map today, you can see which areas are impacted. I'd like some way for the people who would be impacted by this to be notified of it, so that they would be aware of it. I've been going to planning commission meetings for a very long time, years, and several years ago, there was a meeting with the Braddock Middle School with the Bowman's Edition folks, the folks who live there, and their wish over and over and over again was, we don't want more growth, we don't want more things here, we don't want more, we like growth in the county, but we don't want it here. And I'm not even sure they would be aware that they would be eligible for this sort of thing, this business thing. So I don't know how you do that, but I think it's important to let people know who live in those dark green areas that they would be impacted by this.
Do you have any suggestions on the definitions or?
Well, I think it's interesting is my son lives in Texas and just moved into a home, and has a business. He has his own business. As soon as he moved into the home, there were restrictions on how many cars could come each month. There's only, you can have 6 cars in a month or something. Because it's a residential area, they're saying, yes, you can have a limited back and forth, but we don't want to have 25 cars coming out of your driveway and down the street every day. So I really think there needs to be restrictions on what is considered a small scale business.
If you come up with any definitions, would you get them today? Because it would help out. I mean, if we amend this to find up with some kind of a definition, we're gonna need some help to
Yeah.
come up with that.
Be happy to. Thank
Okay.
you.
Mr. Dorsey and I had that same conversation this morning about coming up with more definitions, because just to say small scale, what's small to one person is small to everybody. But if you look at the locations of most of these areas, they're not big retail areas or anything like that. So I think more definitions would eliminate future arguments.
I do think when it comes to property values, it makes a difference to people who are buying in an area who think, well, there could be a next to me, but I don't know. If I know that it's going to be limited to X, I can live with it. If I don't know how big that can be, how bustly it can be, what hours are going to be allowed, and that sort of thing, then I think it reduces the property values.
Jackie, I forgot to say, would you please announce your name and your address for the record? And you did say
Okay.
Jackie, did you say your address?
Cumberland?
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mike Vance?
I think he wants to talk on another issue.
Is that-
So does the other.
Okay.
Well, we're going to hold off for just a little bit until we're finished this hearing, please. if you don't
I
mind.
didn't know that was for the same, okay. Okay.
Georgine McLaughlin, Old Town. Do you need the full address?
No, that's cool.
Okay. The only question I have is on-site signs, the size. I mean, we're talking regular business signs, not billboard signs, size signs. Everybody's been down 95 and seen the billboards going for JR, you know what I'm saying, one after another. Those kind of signs in a residential area I would think, be prohibited. Regular business signs, but I think you should put a definition in the plan itself, limiting the scope and size of signs. Thanks.
Yeah, David, could you get back around the podium there a second? We can chat for just a few minutes. The planning commission held a formal public hearing on this issue.
Yes.
And their findings were
To recommend
to recommend.
to the county commissioners to adopt this change.
Is there any other? Yeah.
In terms of the Georgine's question about the one-side signs, was it the intention of the planning commission that this be limited to signs related to the specific business that's being permitted?
That's what the
as opposed
on-site
to
part-
advertising
right.
something 50 miles away?
Yes. Anything else would be a billboard, which isn't allowed in the G1 district.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Now, this is, the amendment only provides the opportunity for a special exception. It's not an automatic
Right.
opportunity to develop your
Right.
property consistent with this proposed amendment. You would still need to step through another hearing process before the county's Board of Zoning Appeals. Is that correct?
Yes, and for that hearing, adjoining neighbors are notified by mail. There's a large notice, a sign put in the yard of the property affected, and there's also a legal ad in the newspaper.
Is that satisfied? Huh?
Well, I think there could be more people commenting on this today if they knew they were affected by it. Maybe they'd be in favor of it, I don't know.
Okay. All right, any other comments?
Just a question at the,
If you will come up, Brad. Thank you, sir.
I'm Brad Metzger, I live in Lavelle, Maryland. And my question is the hearing that was held at the zoning commission, did anyone speak at the hearing? How many people spoke, how many for, how many against? There's some interest tonight, I just wonder if that one slid under most people's radar.
My recollection, if I can answer that, my recollection is that there really was only one individual who spoke in favor of the amendment.
And to make it clear, I'm not against it. I just wanted to make sure that the signs were for the business itself and the average, goes, and I know it goes through the special exception, so.
Dave, there's a young lady behind you.
Hi, Sherry Esposito, Mount Savage, Maryland, and I would just like to speak in favor of the amendment because there really isn't a recourse for citizens at this point, and at least now we would have an opportunity to go and speak and possibly have the opportunity for a small, unobtrusive business in these very difficult economic times in our county. Thank you.
Excuse me, anyone interested in having a map
Yes.
that shows these areas? It's a little confusing because we made it green, it's not the regular color for that district, but just so it would pop out of the map for you. Anyone else want to get it?
Antoinette Wiseman, Maryland. I'd like to reinforce what Jackie said about well, let me say another thing. It sounds as if it would be a great protection to have the Board of Zoning Appeals ruling on this. My listening in several instances to the Board of Zoning Appeals in action is they very rarely meet and asking for an exception that they don't get. And my understanding of the rule that they operate by is it can't be any worse here, can't have any more bad effect here than any place else in the county. So people who will be affected need to know that. Oh, the other thing was to say that you only notify people on either side doesn't protect a whole lot of the neighborhood. So for instance, if I were across the street and one house down, I might not pick that up at all. So that's what I was trying to read. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, thank you very much, David.
Sure.
All right, commissioners. Item number 5 under our action agenda is to approve the road opening at request of the LaVale Sanitary Commission. Mr. Rudd.
Yes, commissioners, we had a hearing on this previously. It was referred to staff for comments. There were no objections. This is ultimately going to be a closing of a portion of the street in LaVale. It's really a paper street, and it's going to be done to accommodate, I guess, a relocation or reconstruction of a water tank for LaVale Sanitary. So today, you can take action to open the street. There will be a subsequent petition by the Sanitary Commission.
Gentlemen, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the road opening at the, I'd like to make a motion to approve the road opening at the request of the LaVale Sanitary Commission. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner McKay, seconded by Commissioner Valentine. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I'm going to abstain.
Any abstentions? Okay. Action passes. Item number 6, Board of Education fiscal year 2014 budget amendments. I understand that Mr. Bittinger is here. Welcome, Randy.
Handle with care.
Before you get started, we came up with some questions we received, and we think maybe if we can get those answers first, before we get into anything.
Sure.
Make things much easier.
Sure.
One of the things that stuck out right away was one of the cuts was category adjustments being requested for special education, a cut of $375,000.
Yes.
What kind of actual impact is that going to have to special education? Is that elimination and stuff?
Yes. What those cuts are is we took a look at the staffing and wanted to make sure that individuals that were counted in special education were actually working with special education students. And the state aid estimates, based upon our population, we have 60 less special education students, and so those are personnel that we are moving into regular instruction. That's why that category is increasing. And then there are 2 instructional assistants who have retired, and we are not replacing them. So there would be a net decrease in positions, but we've not eliminated any programs, and the school system has to comply with a maintenance of effort requirement within its budget. And so we're looking to make sure that we're actually counting things correctly and properly and giving the school system the most flexibility that it could. Should you have to reduce, you may be in a situation where that's a category you could not reduce because of the maintenance of effort requirement within the budget and special funds. So
There is no true impact to students.
I don't believe so.
Then another one was reduction of fixed charges of $647,000.
Yes, there were a number of items making that up. The biggest one, I think, was adjustment number 2 on the materials given to you on, I believe, June 6th, the compensation adjustment, and so that's been eliminated from the budget. There may have been some other minor category adjustments, but that's where the majority of the dollars are.
Is any of that in the energy savings?
The energy savings, there's not an additional budget, but if you look at the budget that we sent over to you on May 28th, our utilities are lower by some $600,000-700,000 than in the 14 budget as compared to the current year we're in. We've been able to reduce the holding costs, as we call them, for the Braddock campus, and then the second area is just our regular utilities by working to look at the reduction of usage, and then in November we are due for a rate decrease in the purchasing cooperative we're in, and we're in a cooperative with Garrett County Board of Ed and County Government, Washington County Board of Ed, and County Government, City of Cumberland, us, and the Carroll County Public Schools.
And then the layout was wage and transfer, $291,000.
Yeah.
Is that automatic The wage adjustments of 291, is that automatic steps? Is that actual pay increases?
Sure. What happened there was, in the board's proposed operating budget, there were 15 positions to be eliminated, and we didn't know where those positions would finally line up in as people announce retirement decisions and everything. And they could be in administration, they could be in mid-level administration, special ed, you know, on down the line. So as we moved closer to July 1, we knew certain individuals that would be retiring and had made certain decisions on not replacing certain positions, or we know we could replace a position at a lower rate than what it was originally budgeted because someone had retired. So basically what we did was we spread that entire $1,050,000 that we had for wage reductions. It was all setting in instructional wages, and it's been spread to the various categories, so which causes instructional wages now to be higher in this budget than the one we gave you back at the end of March. And I believe that was like maybe adjustment number 14 or 15 in the material that we gave you on, I believe, June 6th. So basically what all these adjustments will do will set our budget categories, and then if we choose to spend money elsewhere, we have to come for your approval, as we do from time to time with budget amendments and look at the end of the year. So that's why we're submitting them according to state law.
Okay. Commissioners, I'd like to make a motion that we accept this Board of Education fiscal year 2014 budget amendment. Is there a second? Second. It has been moved by Commissioner McKay, seconded by Commissioner Brody. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much, Randy. Item number 7, Commissioners, is the Emergency Watershed Protection Construction Contract. I understand the debonair and dashing Mr. Adam Patterson, who is not sporting his designer eyeglasses today, and I have to say that I did not take them. I had nothing to do with them. Anyhow, you can't blame it on me.
Because of all the ridicule I'm in counseling from the glasses, so I stopped wearing them.
That you can blame on me.
So I do need a ride home because I
do
can't.
have a habit of having lots of people go to counseling, so we have a discount program, and we'll talk to you about that later.
Wonderful. What you have in front of you, gentlemen, tonight is a request to proceed to advertise and then award a bid for repair of a handful of sites that were damaged in October as a result of Hurricane Sandy. Last fall, we entered into an agreement with USDA to be able to receive the grant funding in accordance with their regulations.
Okay. Any questions, Commissioners? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion to request the County Commissioners to authorize the Department of Public Works to proceed with advertising and accepting bids for the EWP construction contract. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Brody, seconded by Commissioner Valentine. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, bridge crossing replacement. Mr. Patterson.
Jeffries Road received damage from that same storm. However, it has been compromised further since the storm in October, so we are looking for a complete replacement of this crossing. It was included in the capital improvement plan that was adopted, I believe, on June 6th. And so we have documents near ready for construction plans and permits, etc. And so we're seeking permission to request for advertisement and then award to a contract, low bid, lowest and responsible bidder to proceed to construction.
Commissioners, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the bridge crossing replacement for Jeffries Road construction contract. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Second. It's been moved by Commissioner Valentine, seconded by Commissioner Brody. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, Braddock Run Sewer Rehabilitation. Mr. Patterson.
Starting to feel like a bad penny. Okay, as you're aware that we...
I am not going to say anything funny about shiny or anything like that. Just not going to go there.
I did let my hair grow in for tonight, so easy. As you're aware
Where's
that
Dr. Raver? We need to help the barber here.
we like to, we're under consent order for the Braddock Run Sanitary District, and we like to try to pair grant and loan projects just with our agencies to be able to tackle these projects. And here's our next phase of Braddock Run. We are near completion of our construction plans and documents. And so, again, we're seeking permission to go ahead and prepare for advertisement and then award the bid later this summer. So, any questions?
Commissioners, I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the Braddock Run Sewer Rehabilitation Phase 2, Grahamtown Sand Springs Run. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved by Commissioner McKay, seconded by Commissioner Brody. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10, Sheriff Building Shell Construction Project. Mr. Adam Patterson.
Thank you. You have been kept in the loop on this project, and this past spring we received, you guys recommended and approved our request to have consultants team and help with the design of this building, and we have completed the contract documents. We are ready to go to advertisement and then award for construction. Again, this is for the shell of the building, and then we will be having some county forces work on the fit out on the interior.
I'm proud to make a motion, commissioners, for the Sheriff Building Shelf Construction Project, contract number ACSD-1302. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner McKay, seconded by Commissioner Valentine, and if it could be third by Commissioner Brody, I'm sure he would do that. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Do we have a timeline on the start of the actual construction?
We should be advertising in the next week, and I believe we're advertising for the required time of about 30 days. And because there's just local money in the contract, we should be able to begin construction with about 3 weeks after opening bids. So it's just as fast as we can move.
Good. Oh, wonderful. Item number 11, Commissioners, is the 911 phone system upgrade contract award. Mr. DeVore, our Director of Emergency Services.
You got the last one, buddy?
No dashing and debonair for me. I'm hurt.
Well, it's kind of like looking in a mirror myself.
Yes, it is.
And I just want to be as humble as I can.
Commissioners, what you have before you is a request to award a contract for the replacement of the 911 telephone systems at both our primary and backup locations. We are attaching to a Prince George's County contract, and this project in the amount of $925,921 is covered in its entirety by a grant from the State of Maryland Emergency Number Systems Board. By implementing this, we're putting in place the necessary platform technology to move us to next generation 911, which, believe it or not, will involve the ability to send text and picture messages to 911 to request emergency assistance.
Commissioners, would like to entertain a motion that we accept the 911 phone system upgrade contract award. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Brody, seconded by Commissioner Valentine. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12, Mr. DeVore.
Item number 12 is awarding of an additional contract, emergency medical dispatch software implementation for the 911 center. This is one of the recommendations coming out of the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats study that was performed on the EMS system. By implementation of this contract with Priority Dispatch, we will have implemented all 3 tiers of their service: police, fire, and emergency medical dispatch. Proud to say that all of our dispatchers will be tri-certified, which is certainly an accomplishment on their part. The contract in the amount of $80,597.75 is once again covered fully by a State of Maryland Emergency Number Systems Board grant, and we are attaching to the statewide contract.
Someone like to entertain a motion to accept the emergency medical dispatch contract. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Second. It's been moved by Commissioner Valentine, seconded by Commissioner Brody. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Everly, what do we have on our consent agenda, please?
Commissioners, we have 5 items on the agenda for your consideration this afternoon relating to board appointments, to a procurement award, and for opportunities to bid 2 other projects.
Okay. Gentlemen, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept our consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved by Commissioner Valentine, seconded by Commissioner Brody. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. What is on your desk, Mr. Everly, please?
Commissioners, for your consideration this afternoon is an opportunity to sign correspondence to Mr. Tony Crawford, District 6 Engineer, Maryland State Highway Administration, with regards to our support for the Polish Mounted Hill Climb sports car event. Like me to read this on the record?
Yes, please.
Okay. Dear Mr. Crawford, in reference to the requirements for issuing a Maryland State Highway Special Event Permit outlined in Senate Bill 984 and House Bill 1356 and signed into law on April of 2009, we are pleased to provide this letter of authorization for the Polish Mountain Hill Climb planned for August the 3rd through the 4th, 2013. Our interest in this event is based on a revival of motor sports programming in our community that has been ongoing, an ongoing positive initiative in Allegheny County since 2001. The organizing group for much of the programming is the National Road Autosport LLC. They have presented a plan to partner with the Flintstone Volunteer Fire Company to revive the sport of hill climbing on Polish Mountain. We support the staging of the event and subsequent closure of specified public roads pursuant to the conditions required in Maryland Comar Article 21-1211 as amended by the legislature this year. Thank you in advance for your support.
Gentlemen, were we in consensus?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
let's sign this thing. While they're signing that document, do we have any words of wisdom, words of inspiration, words of perspiration from our county attorney, Mr. Bill Rudd?
I have none.
Thank you very much, sir.
Commissioner, can I have the balance of Mr. Rudd's time, however, to bring up one issue, just one small, short.
He must
brief.
officially yield that balance.
You got it.
Thank you, Mr. Rudd. Commissioners, you are no strangers to the Allegheny County Fairgrounds, have been there on numerous occasions, and you know that during the week of the fair, which is coming up the third week of July, signs are posted on the fairground site concerning activity which is acceptable and activity which is not acceptable. We have been advised by the security work group of the Fair Week Activity Board to consider amending the county's fairground rules to include some language specific to dissuading young adults from disguising their faces and wearing masks so that we have a hard time identifying them should something problematic occur. Mr. Rudd is going to prepare some language for consideration next week. I just want to give everyone a heads up that the rules and regs as we have them today, there's a good chance that they will be modified next week.
Do you want to talk about the group that does? Just, I think.
It's kind of difficult if we could simply display a photograph here for us from time to time if we see some young adults. Kind of hard to identify them, public safety, even though we might have cameras, or there may be some folks who are eyewitnesses to accurately identify an individual with a positive description or an accurate ID. So that's what we're dealing with.
Wow.
They disguise themselves on purpose sometimes.
That's exactly.
I think that's what we're trying to address.
Anything else?
That's it, sir.
You had a little bit more left of Mr. Rudd's time. No? Okay. Moving right along. Commissioners, statements, comments, recognition. Commissioner Brody, please.
Yes, sir. Boy, as always, our calendar of where we're at and some of the things that we do is always online, but tonight I'd like to thank Flintstone Volunteer Fire Department for the use of this facility. It's absolutely gorgeous. I first got down here, I believe, 2 years ago for a wedding reception. Love it, but being back in Flintstone brings me back to a lot of memories because this is where I started my career actually as a logger for many years back on Town Creek. And I must say that I'm very proud of that. And at that time, people still like to work and we still like to produce something, and it was still a viable land. We've had some very important meetings that me and Commissioner McKay attended the other day. Commissioner Valentine was very much tied up on other resource at the western end of the county. Where some questions asked, and I think we got them answered, but it just goes, sitting here right now, it still makes me think of the amount of good that I made from Flintstone, and then several years after that, I spent about a little better than a year right over here on the hill putting an 8-acre swamp in for the state of Maryland. So it's good to be back. Sorry.
Thank you for having you here.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Valentine.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for turning out. When we were first elected, we thought that it was important to go to the people rather than the people always have to come to us. So we made it a point that we were going to spread the commissioner meetings out across the county.
We've been a couple places up through Georges Creek. We've been in Frostburg. Now we're at Flintstone. Possibly we'll make our way all the way out to Little Orleans. We're definitely due for Old Town, so we want to hit all the areas. Commissioners will all be taking part in the opening parade for the Old Town Summerfest Saturday morning. And it's always a great little festival. Hope everybody can come out. And most of all, I'd like to say thank you to Penny and Hillmar. I've known Penny for quite a few years. Hillmar, for even more, just show you how small of a world it is. I floated the South Branch on a Saturday and Sunday, and Monday I'm at this property along the South Branch looking about doing some work. And that's where I met Hillmar. That had to be, what, 15, 16 years or so ago. So he's a...
You're showing your age, Bill.
No, I'm showing Hillmar's age.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's a great addition to our community. And I think anybody that gets the chance, please go to Schofield Road, right off of Green Ridge Road. Visit their art studio. What he's got here is just a very small sampling, and I think you'd be truly amazed at George Standing and George's partner for life out in the field there now. Very great artwork, and it's just nice to know we've got neighbors of that quality in this area, so thank you again.
Commissioners, I would like to comment on the retirement of Miss Debbie Pappas, the active president. I'd like to officially, we need to thank her for all her time and tenure that she had under the 5 years, I believe it was 5 years she was president. She was definitely very passionate for education, and this community has been a blessing by having her in that seat. And I think she's done a wonderful job, and whatever anybody's individual passion is, collectively it makes up us as a community, and collectively as we make this community great. And so I appreciate anybody dedicating their life to a particular issue, and this being the education of our children. So I think that was wonderful. And if you get a chance to see Ms. Pappas, congratulate her on her retirement.
One more thing, if I could, Mike, please. You may have noticed a young man here fooling around with a camera all night. Well, you'll all be on TV.
You do now.
You'll all be on TV next week. Our commissioners' meetings, in the interest of letting the people really know what's going on, this film will appear on each of the cable channels twice next week. I know we don't have cable out in this area, but most people have computers. Get on the computer and go to YouTube. We put all of our meetings on YouTube also. So you can always keep track of what's happening with the commissioners' meeting.
Okay. I'd like to give a special acknowledgement for all the help out here for Ms. Dottie Ruby and Clark Mallow for setting this up. Thank you very much, Flintstone. We really appreciate that. Gentlemen, I'm going to move into the sign-up sheet for constituents, and I understand that Mr. Vance Mike Vance.
I'm Mike Vance from Martyrs, Pennsylvania. I know I'm no Allegheny County citizen, but I'm close. My concern is the dirt track at Rock, Allegheny County Speedway. What can we do to keep racing in this area? I've been going, I watched Mr. Valentine race when he raced. I've been going a long time, and I've been to a lot of different places. And what can we do to keep it out there? Just like this Sunday. The last two shows has been canceled out there for, I don't know why or what. But this Sunday, there was nobody there to answer the phone, nothing. And I know several people drove there and found out it was canceled, and they wasn't happy. That's why the attendance is down. There's nobody, how can I put it, nobody there to, you know, like Sunday, to say whether canceled or this or that or whatever. And I was wondering what you could do to keep it here. That is one of the prettiest tracks in the country. There are rocks in the background and everything, and the grandstands, and it brings business into Allegheny County. These guys too here, they're gonna stop and eat, they're gonna stop and get fuel, they're gonna stop and do something before they go home. And I just wonder what we could do to keep it here.
dirt track racing myself. This is Veteran Speedway, rate goes on great. Talked to the promoter over there. Talked to several of the drivers over there.
Okay.
So we are making some plans on what can happen with that speedway. You remember a number of years ago, there was actually a NASCAR race on that track.
Yes.
There was a USAC race on that track.
Yes.
Mario Andretti won at that track.
Yes.
A lot of history there.
I know
and
that.
we hope that there's a lot of history to be made in the future.
I hope too. I don't want to see it going.
We're going to do everything we can to find a good promoter. And my wishes would be to, if we find a promoter for next year, to hand that promoter Veteran Speedway's rule book and say, have your cars the same rules as these cars. Like the local racers, they've got a two-track circuit to run up and down 220. I think it could be a very viable track.
Yes, I do too. If the two tracks would work together and, you know, that's just like on the news last night, I heard Dog Hollow Speedway to close the doors this week. There's another Friday night track going, and these guys it's got to go somewhere to race. It's got the car. They're going to tow someplace, either Friday night, Saturday night, or whatever. And I hope this keeps going right here.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll be in touch.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Mans.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Brian Lohr.
I just came to just show my support for the track, Mike and Mr. Valentine. So,
Thank you very much, Mr. Lohr.
thank you.
Okay. Allegheny County News, we have a electronic newsletter that we do send out, and we're always trying to update or get new email addresses. So if you would please, you can see any of the commissioners via our website. You can sign up for this electronic newsletter. One of the things that we like to send out is whenever we do a commissioner's chat, and commissioner's chat is when we have somebody who comes to Allegheny County and I sit down with them and talk about the impact of their idea for Allegheny County, or talk about state impact, and talk about things that affect economic development, but the overall community of Allegheny County. Sit down and do about a 15 or 20-minute interview. Recently, I sat down with the comptroller, Peter Francho, and talked to him about what it meant to be the comptroller, what his duties are. Also sat down and talked to him about how state government should be run, and I'm pretty proud. He says he thinks the state government should be run like Allegheny County is run, and that was kind of a kudos. So I have to repeat that, but if you want to get that sent to you electronically, we're getting ready to send that out, and we do send that. That's actually on YouTube as well, those commissioners' chats, and it's great positive information for your community, and you showed your support of the community by showing up to your government's meeting, so it's equally important that you see that. So if you'd like to sign up for that, you can do that here today. Please see Ms. Bretta. If you don't have to do that right now, you can sign up on the website. And if our media would really impact and talk about that, it's really good information. So thank you very much. I'd like to remind everybody of our next public business meeting, which will be Thursday, June 27th at 5 o'clock in room 100 of the county offices. Our next public work session is going to be Thursday, July the 11th at 4 o'clock in room 212. I'd like to remind everyone to please see the Allegheny County government schedule as it relates to the 4th of July, and also announcement of the high voltage power lines safety training. Please see that news release. We always like to close our meetings by thanking you for participating in your government, and I hope you have a nice evening. Thank you.